Hello, I'm Kelly, and this is Kelly's Wordy Reactions. All right, so I'm going to get to the final updates for today. These are the ones that came in after the lunch hour, and I already did this on my through StreamYard, but then when I took a look back at it, I had forgotten to take my music off. So the kind of like the intro music was really in the way of the sound. So I'm gonna go over this again, and just so I have a good record of it. And if you didn't catch it when I went live on StreamYard just only moments ago, then perhaps you can catch it now. Okay, so let's go ahead and get back into it. And I'll start over with everything that came in after the lunch hour. Okay, all right. In the second part of her testimony today, Cassandra Ventura, the singer known as Cassie, further detailed the fear she said she lived in because of Sean Combs's violin, which is VIOLENCE, code word, and the threats he made to embarrass and humiliate her. Combs frequently recorded the freak-offs, their substance-fueled ex-marathons, and at one point, on a flight from Cannes, he showed her videos from his computer that she thought had been deleted and threatened her with releasing them on the internet to embarrass and humiliate her. She recounted the many male escorts they hired for the freak-offs, as well as the OPIATES, which I'm calling OPIes, and ketamine they took, which Ventura said numbed her to the experience. She also read a text message she sent Combs in 2017 near the end of their relationship, in which she told him that, quote, nothing good had come of freak-offs anymore. And also in quote, you treat me like you're Ike Turner, she wrote, referring to Tina Turner's former husband, who was ABUSIVE, we'll call that abusey to her. Okay. All right, here's the next one coming in from 5 hours ago, or around about, it said. It says 5 hours, so I'm not sure exactly what time it was, but this should have been after lunch. Cassandra Ventura resumed her testimony after lunch, focusing on some examples of violin and intimidation from early in her relationship with Sean Combs. After a night out, when she heard him insult her to another person, she punched him in their car, and his demeanor immediately changed. In quote, his eyes went black, she said. He beat her brutally in the car, stomping on her face with his foot, she said. She was taken to a hotel to recover in secrecy. Another time, she said, she went with some friends to a party at Prince's house, where the star was performing a, quote, once-in-a-lifetime experience, she said. She was afraid to tell Combs about it, and when he arrived, she ran out, falling in some bushes in the yard before fleeing to a hotel. In 2011, she said, Combs discovered, by looking through her phone during a freak-off, that she had begun dating the rapper Kid Cudi. He became enraged and lunged at her with a, quote, wine bottle opener. She fled the freak-off. Next update, 5 hours ago. So after finding out that Cassandra Ventura and Scott Mescudi, better known as Kid Cudi, were dating, Sean Combs threatened to hurt them and released 2 explicit freak-off videos of Ventura. She testifies. Combs attacked her at his home, Ventura says, And when she returned to a hotel room where she was staying, it had been trashed with urine and feces in the bathroom and the furniture in disarray. Ventura then read an email she sent to her mother that month about the threats from Combs, whom she said told her he would be out of the country when he had someone hurt her and Miss Scuddy. Maybe it's Miss Scuddy. Kid Cuddy. So it looks like he was telling her that he planned to have somebody else hurt both of them, and he was going to be out of the country. Hi, Live Shorts. Hello, thanks for joining the live. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, next update as of 5 hours ago. While describing the first time she talked to her mother about being abused by or abused by Sean Combs, Cassandra Ventura requests a quick break from the witness stand. The judge grants her 10 minutes. The testimony had turned emotional, and Ventura recalled lying to her mother, saying that her bruises in December 2011 were from the first time he had attacked her. She hadn't yet told her mother about the freak-offs. I couldn't hurt her like that, Ventura says. And then in quotes, you can't justify it to anyone, especially not your mom. And then the next update 5 hours ago. Earlier in the day, Cassandra Ventura was asked if she ever Cassandra Ventura, her husband Alex Fine, and Sean Combs are an uneasy trio, while Ventura never seems to look at Combs, preferring to stare at the prosecutors into space or down at the table in front of her. Fine occasionally turns to look at Combs. Oops, we still there? Okay. Fine occasionally turns to look at Combs across the aisle before turning back to his wife on the stand. Combs usually sits with his hands clasped on his lap, occasionally writing notes to his lawyers. When photos of Ventura's bruises were shown on the screen, he briefly rubbed his eyes and shook his head once. The jurors have maintained their best poker faces, especially while looking at still images from the freak-offs. So they have gotten into looking at least still images of the freak-offs at this point in the afternoon. So 4 hours ago, back on the stand, Ventura testifies that she broke things off with Scott Mescudi, the rapper Kid Cudi, after Combs' threats against them near the end of 2011. So his threats directly made them break off anything that they had going on. And then in quotes, too much danger, too much uncertainty of what could happen if we continue to see each other, she says. Combs had said he would blow up Mescudi's car. Ventura says, and that Combs wanted Mescudi's friends to be present when it happened. The next time she saw Mescudi was at the Soho House during a meeting with her and Combs. And then in quotes, what about my vehicle? Mescudi asked, according to Ventura. In quotes, what vehicle? Combs responded. And that was the end of the meeting, Ventura says. Next update 4 hours ago, the prosecution is not following a linear timeline in asking Ventura about her relationship with Combs. While the government lawyers seem to be establishing a litany of various moments when Combs demanded specific sexual scenarios or was physically abused. Sometimes linking the two, they are moving quickly back and forth across nearly 11 years the pair were together. Next update from 4 hours ago. After one instance of physical abuse, in 2015, Ventura says Combs told her to put on more makeup because he didn't want one of his sons to see the bruises on her face while she was staying at Combs's house. Hello, if you're just coming in, thank you for joining. We are going through the updates from today, from day 3 of the trial. And these are all coming in after afternoon, after lunchtime. All right, from 4 hours ago. Combs's physical abusee was not limited to her. Ventura testifies. She says she witnessed him assaulting employees and assistants, punching one, a man, in the head and dragging another, a woman, known for the trial as Mia. So she actually witnessed him dragging Mia. Mia is victim 4, out of bed once on a trip. Ventura also recalls a time when Combs attacked a friend of hers, dangling her over an apartment balcony and then throwing her onto patio furniture. This incident was referred to in Ventura's civil lawsuit from 2023. If you know about that lawsuit, then that was widely referred to when he, it was said that he dangled her friend over the balcony. And then, okay, so this incident was referred to in Ventura's civil lawsuit from 2023, as well as in a subsequent lawsuit from the woman, Brianna Bongalon, known as Banna. All right, and then another update from 4 hours ago. Cassandra Ventura says she lost her best friend of 17 years after the woman got into a physical altercation with Sean Combs in 2018. When he saw the two women were planning to do substances together, Ventura testifies he hit the woman in the head with a wooden hanger. He hit the woman in the head with a wooden hanger. Wow. All right, next update from 4 hours ago. You know, I just looked at the comments. It's funny because I know what OMFG Google is saying is in like the transcripts. And I did hear that on yesterday, something about that, but it didn't come up in my updates. So I guess that was just a little bit too much for them to put over here. So I'm gonna have to get over to X and look at the tweets or whatnot to see if I can find that, because I know it's there. It's just not over here in these updates. Let's see. So the prosecution seems to have preemptively and briefly raised an incident when Cassandra Ventura physically attacked another woman, which Sean Combs' defense had alluded to in pretrial hearings. Ventura says her mother saw the woman possibly taking a picture of her at a bar where she was hanging out for her brother's birthday. Ventura admits to pulling the woman out of a car and confronting her. All right, next update from 4 hours ago. Sean Combs kept a small Louis Vuitton toiletries bag, his quote, med bag or medicine bag, full of substances that he obtained from dealers he knew. Cassandra Ventura says his substances of choice, she says, included MDMA, coke, Mary, ketamine, and GHB. She says that she and Combs took these substances, especially during freak-offs. Sometimes she did these substances on her own, Ventura testifies, especially opiates like Norco and Percocet, and benzodiazepines like Xanax or Valium. When she attempted to stop taking opiates at various points in their relationship, she began experiencing serious withdrawals like flu sick, Ventura says. I heavily depended on opiates, in quotes. In 2022, she sought professional help. She attended rehab and no longer takes the pills, Ventura says. And then from 4 hours ago, as they were nearing closure at the end of their relationship in 2018, Sean Combs and Cassandra Ventura had dinner. Afterward, they went back to Ventura's home and he R-worded her, she says. Ventura was by then together with her now husband, Alex Fine, but she and Combs had a nice meal and their rapport was playful, even romantic, as he brought her home. And then in quotes, and then he R-worded me in my living room, she says. And also in quotes, I just remember crying and saying no, but it was very fast. Later, after another positive outing, she had X with him one more time, Ventura says. And then in quotes, but by choice. When asked why, she pointed to their decade together, in quotes. You don't just turn feelings off that way, she says. And then in quotes, I still had a good vision of who he was as a person. And I just don't know for the life of me how she how she could have that. How could that be? Like, it's just some stuff that, you know, people could do. Like maybe you could get into some pushing and pulling, a little bit of back and forth. Definitely not like a punch or a slap. When you go all the way to a stomp, I'm just like, I'm losing the good person, good vision, the somewhere deep down inside of there is something magical. I done lost all of that. Like wherever it is, you should have pulled it out and it should have stopped your foot. That great person you are should have stopped your foot. Okay, next update, 4 hours ago. Cassandra Ventura says she maintained intermittent contact with Sean Combs after they finally broke up. Typically, they texted only casually to check in on each other, but in March 2019, Combs sent her a message referring cryptically to, quote, iPads full of skeletons, which she says meant the actual videos they had recorded. Combs, Ventura says, wanted to be reimbursed for the personal training sessions he had paid for when her now husband, Alex Fine, had trained her. In quotes, he wanted his money back, Ventura says. But she responded in a text that she could still tell, quote, the truth, adding, it's way deeper than iPads. She meant his ABUSE of her, and also in quotes, the whole nature of the relationship, Ventura says. So then also from 4 hours ago, after maintaining her composure for most of her 2 days on the stand, Ventura finally breaks down while discussing why she opted to attend rehab and trauma therapy in 2023. In quotes, I was spinning out, she said. In quotes, I didn't want to be alive anymore at that point. She had been shooting a music video and kept having horrible flashbacks, Ventura says. When she returned home, she told her husband, in quote, you can do this without me. You don't need me here anymore, she recalls, beginning to cry. She tried to walk out of the door into traffic, but her husband stopped her, Ventura says. From 4 hours ago, Through tears, Ventura recalls choosing to begin writing a book about her time with Combs as trauma therapy. After she went to rehab, her mother helped, Ventura says. I really wanted Sean to read the information. I wanted him to understand that I had to learn to understand I wanted him to understand what I had to learn to understand over that period. And then she provided some of the chapters she was working on to Combs, Ventura said, and then had a lawyer reach out to his representatives about potentially paying her $30 million for the rights to her story. I wanted, in quotes, I wanted to be compensated for the time, the pain, she says, but she did not receive any money at that time. Okay, next update. Ventura testifies that she settled her lawsuit against Sean Combs for $20 million. So there's the real number, $20 million. Cassandra Ventura estimates that she participated in hundreds, in quotes, of freak-offs during her time with Sean Combs. Since breaking up with him in 2018, she hasn't had any, she says. And at that, the prosecution tells the judge that it has no further questions for Ventura at this time. Cassandra Ventura is finished with her direct testimony, where we're taking a 10-minute break. Ventura is standing and holding her stomach as the jurors file out. The prosecution pushed to begin the cross-examination today, so they wanted to get right down to the cross, alluding to the timing concerns with Cassandra Ventura's pregnancy. But Judge Arun Subramanian wants to start the questioning by Sean Combs' lawyers tomorrow. The defense lawyers say they expect their cross-examination to take all day tomorrow and likely go into Friday, but that it should be complete by end of the week. Okay, so her cross is going to start on tomorrow. And then when Cassandra Ventura finished her direct testimony, Sean Combs turned to his family members assembled in the spectators gallery and mouthed to them, "I'm okay." And that is all we have there for those are all the updates all the way up from lunch to the end of the trial on that platform. I'm going to skip over to X and see what I can see. They usually, there's a way to get the almost everything that's being said, but I have not come up with how to do that. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like they were at this, they were having some conversation about maybe where to look at the evidence, the film, the freak-off evidence. And let's see. Okay, so here's a little bit of the testimony. So from 5 hours ago, Assistant U.S. Attorney, what are these photographs, Ventura? My mother took there in Connecticut of the bruises on my back. AUSA, or Assistant U.S. Attorney, were you entirely honest with your mother about the abuse? Ventura, no. I said this was the first time. AUSA, Did you tell her about the freak offs? Ventura says no. And then here's another part of testimony. Ventura, I sent an email to my mom and Capricorn from my flight to Boston and Connecticut. And then U.S. Attorney, what did you write? Ventura, that Sean said he would release the tape of me on Christmas and he'd had Scott and he, maybe it was supposed to be he'd have Scott and I hurt. He said he would be out of the country then. So it sounds like that's talking about the Kid Cudi incident. And then more testimony. Ventura, there was a time I couldn't take the pain, tried to walk out in traffic. My husband wouldn't let me. I had trauma therapy. U.S. Attorney, did you write? Ventura, a book with chapters. My mom helped. U.S. Attorney, what did you want? What did you want with the book? Ventura, that Sean read it. And then another part of testimony, U.S. Attorney, money back for what? Ventura, for having paid my now husband to be my trainer. U.S. Attorney, what did you write back? Ventura, do you want me to tell the truth? It's much deeper than iPads. There was abuse, more than freak offs. And all right, so there's some back and forth about the let's see. Oh, this was way this morning. Okay. All right. Well, that's all I got. Let's see. What did y'all have to say in this chat? Again, hello, and thank you for coming in. Somebody's talking about Meg the Stallion and Tory Lanez. Okay. I heard Tory Lanez was hurt by someone in prison. So yeah, okay. All right, well, thank you all for coming in. If you haven't already, please hit the like button or tap the screen. I think you can do that as well. Also, you can subscribe to the channel if you want to be reminded to keep coming back here for updates throughout the days that the trial is going on. They're saying we're in for like 2 months, 8 weeks or so of this trial. And I will be doing these updates. I might even figure out a way to get more updates and better ones from X. So I'll be working on that as well and putting those out throughout the days. All right. All right. Did anybody have anything else? Let's see. Hi, James. Let's see. The woman in his profile picture is beautiful. His profile picture. That has anything to do with me? Thank you. Okay, Joanne says thank you. You're welcome. Aziz Abe, I don't know when you said who helped him do that. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Okay, anything else? Anybody? Anything? Any comments? Any questions? Not that I can answer them. I can give you my opinion. Anybody want to say what they're thinking about the trial so far? I did hear people saying on yesterday that from yesterday's testimony, it just didn't seem like they had much of the things that he's on trial for. Uh-oh, did I go away? I think I might have gone away for a minute. My phone rang. So today was a lot more compelling. Yeah, today was a whole lot more compelling. It was just a whole lot more today. So what I'm thinking is, they've got her testimony, which is, testimony is good. As far as the ex trafficking that he's being charged with, if they can really, get receipts of all this purchasing escorts that they were doing, or that Cassie is testifying to, if they have receipts of all of that, then that's going to go a long way. That's going to go a long way to proving up that charge. So that's what I'm thinking about, that part. And then, of course, they've already said this is at least 2 months. So I don't think we can really judge anything. I think we just have to kind of listen and remember everything that they're laying out. I don't think we can judge it off of what's now 3 days of testimony, and they haven't even gotten into any type of receipts. This is just listening and, listening to what's being said and taking that in. Tomorrow and Friday, they're going to, Diddy's attorneys are going to cross-examine Cassie. So then we'll get to see if we feel like there's any holes in her stories and things like that with the cross-examination. But, we haven't really seen anything yet because there hasn't been time to get to that part of showing the hotel bookings and who paid for what, where did the money come from. We know that he had her, or she says that he had her doing these bookings and things like that. So we'll have to see if there's any way that she can prove up, or the prosecution can prove up that she was the one, or he was the one actually funding her, paying for these escorts and stuff like that. So we'll just have to continue listening. It's, for a 2-month case, or at least a 2-month case, we just haven't had enough time to see anything yet. People have only, we've had what, 3 people testify? It's been an escort, Cassie, and a cop. And that's all we've had. So it's too early to call it for sure, because we're just getting in. We're just getting all the information. So, all right, y'all. Well, if everybody has said everything that they want to say, I will go ahead and get off of here. I'll be back later with a complete recap of the day. And I thank you for joining, and I'll see you on the next one. Be sure to subscribe if you didn't already and you want to keep being reminded to come back for the updates. Okay, bye.